You're listening to The Knowledge Spot, your number one resource for sharing information that promotes success, personal development, and happiness. I'm your host, Jared Cherry, and my goal is to shed a light on the strategies, mindsets, and routines that have led to each of my guests' individual success. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to listen, and I hope you enjoy what we have in store. Hello everyone, and thank you for listening to The Knowledge Spot. Today I've got guest Bas Rutten. Bas is former UFC heavyweight champion, former King of Pancrase champion, and Bas, right off to start this off, I wanted to congratulate you. I know I'm a few months late, but UFC Hall of Fame, Pioneer Wing, congratulations.
Yeah, that was cool, right? I didn't expect that. So that was a really nice surprise.
And it's well deserved too. And it's interesting how you say you don't expect that, because I wanna take everyone back for a second to 1993. You would have been in your late 20s. You're starting your first what wasn't called MMA at the time, actually. I believe most people were calling it either free fighting or no holds bars. Is that correct?
Oh yes, no, that's correct.
Oh, there we go. I hear you now. Okay. Yeah, so it's 1993. Bas is in his late 20s. He's about to have his first MMA bout. And I'm wondering, you're going into this, are you ever thinking, I'm a pioneer of a new sport?
No, and I never realized it. I did say, though, the next day after the fight, I had an interview, and they asked me where I thought this was going to go. And I told them within 4 years, this is going to be the biggest sport ever, I said. So I was about 7 years or 8 years off. But eventually, I also predicted it's going to be back in the Olympics, because the first Olympics, the first 2 or 3, I believe, they had pancrase in them, which is pretty much the same as mixed martial arts.
Yeah, and it's kind of like a no-brainer. I mean, if you have boxing in there, why don't you just get the whole deal in there already? It only makes sense. And yeah, it's cool to see that you kind of called that. You knew it was going to explode. But at the same time, so you never saw yourself, you're never going, I'm one of the early people in this. Were you already looking up towards other fighters at that point, other no-holds-barred fighters?
No, because it started before the UFC even, like 2 months before the UFC, so I had no clue about the UFC. I knew about it, that it was going to happen from Ken Shamrock, who was sharing the dressing room with me, the locker room before the fight, because he was on the same card. And he told me about it. I go, I don't know if that's a smart thing to do. No referee, nobody can jump in to stop the fight. Some people are crazy people. Some people, when they hit you and you're knocked out, they think it's cool for some reason. I don't know the way they're thinking, but they think it's cool to hit you like 5 or 6 more times. And if there's no referee to pull you up, I go, I don't think that's a smart thing to do.
I couldn't agree more. And I got to say, though, as someone who's never fought in the ring before, you almost got to look at all MMA fighters as a little bit of crazy. But you know what they say, genius isn't far away from crazy, right? So it only makes sense to me. But, what I wanted to ask you about, Bas, too, is I've heard you mention in another interview, it's common knowledge that a lot of these early day fighters, they weren't making good money, but I was surprised to hear you say that you actually managed to secure some good contracts in those early days. Is that true?
Yeah, for standards, it was good. So I made almost the same money as they won an 8-man tournament they would win at the UFC. So, but I just had a lot of negotiating power. There was also another organization, Rings, that wanted to get me. But at that time, there was a lot of work matches in that organization, so I didn't want to do that.
Right.
And but you better believe I used it as negotiating power. I told them, and they knew they could call Rings, and they offered me a really good amount of money, much more. So, but I said no, and I took a little less. But that's why I had that negotiating power, because the people wanted me. I fought some UFC guys who came from the UFC, who went to Japan, and I beat them over here. So, it started to get more and more attractive for the UFC to get me over.
Right. And it kind of speaks true to an issue that's happening right now with all this Reebok and people saying fighters aren't getting paid enough. Do you have any suggestions? A lot of my listeners are either amateur fighters or they're fighters about to start their professional career, and they're going to be wondering, how can I get the most bang for my buck? Do you have any suggestions to them?
No, I think first of all, when you do mixed martial arts, you really have to do it because you love the sport. I think once you say, oh, I want to be, that you should go boxing. If you really think you're that good and you can make money in anything you do, it's a misconception. I was talking about it this morning with a student of mine who was asking about it. I said they all only see the top 10 guys, and they want to be like that, and they think the world owes it to them to be there, but they forget the hard training and everything else. And if you don't have the passion to do that, you should stop fighting. But if you really go hard, well, you will make money, and you'll make good money. But the thing is with the Reebok deal, it's in its early stages.
Right.
It's like any other company. I would say let it 6 months breathe, see what's going to happen. Maybe they're going to pull some kinks out, and they say, you know what, we misjudged this thing, and we got, I always say give it a little time to breathe. Don't just tear them down right away from the get-go, because it's just the start. It's the first month,
Of course, yeah.
Room. And then from there on they can see. But in between, since if you're a beginner mixed martial artist or an amateur, it's going to take a while for you to get into the UFC, and hopefully you can find some good sponsors then before that on different shows, maybe even go to Bellator, but other shows as well. And there's always sponsors out there, especially because it's becoming really mainstream, and you can make some money in that. And then as soon as you become really good and you go to the UFC, well, then the money, the payout's going to be better probably than the other companies. And then from there on, then you're going to have to deal with the Reebok thing, which by then probably is going to be solved. That's
right.
What I think.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's probably a step in the right direction in the big picture here. And it's cool to hear you say that, you shouldn't even be thinking about the money if you want to get into something as crazy as MMA. And I would say if you want to get into anything, you got to have that same mindset. And it reminds me of what I've heard about you once again, Bas, is that when you first started your fighting career, you're also working 3 other jobs, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah, because I'm a realist. It's like you can not only get injured in training, you can simply walk on the street and a car hits you, a bike hits you, anything. You can trip, you can break your ankle. I almost broke my ankle running in the forest. I mean, it can happen. Anything can happen to you. You never know what's going to happen. And if you don't have a backup plan, well, that's going to be a problem. I have so many kids that ask me, they want to pursue a mixed martial arts career. I tell them, I say, finish your school and preferably go study something that you can use later, because it's not for everybody. What if you're not that super athlete? What if you cannot control the nerves? So, things can go wrong. What if you break your arm, you break your leg? It's a compound fracture, and the doctor tells you can never fight again. There's so many things that can go wrong. So always have a backup plan.
And Bas, when you have these kids that are telling they want to become MMA fighters, do you ever right off the bat, do you sometimes know this kid can do it, this kid can't do it?
When they come in and I see them train, yeah, I can pick out right away who's got talent. But then from that moment on, it's all about, can they control that talent that they have also under pressure? That's a lot of people can't do. And you have you hear from every gym. They have fighters who will probably beat up the champions there. But once they fight under pressure themselves, they can't pull it together. And sometimes they can go worse and worse. Other people just get used to it like anybody else.
Right.
Some people never get used to it because they are so good in the gym and people expect so much from them that it gets them more and more pressure, There's fun ways and there's easy ways to get over that, actually they should start like that. Any teacher, what they should do, if they have a really talented kid, make sure the kid doesn't tell first of all, schedule a fight out of town, somewhere in a different state.
Right.
And don't let the kid tell anybody he's going to compete. Nobody. He can do that afterwards. If he wins, he can say it. If he loses, well, he can say it, but he doesn't need to. That takes away a lot of pressure for the guy. But if you have these guys who are really wanted to fight because it is cool and not because they love it, they tell the whole world they're going to rip his head off, they're going to snap his arm, you watch, I'm going to do this, I'm going to come to the fight, man, come and watch me kick his butt. That's what they're going to say. And then once the fight is there and they have to come up to the cage, all those words, all those things they said to all the...
Oh, we lost you again, Bas. There we go. Can you hear me again, boss?
Yeah. It was for some reason I had a phone call in between. I didn't even know it was possible.
Yeah, me neither. Okay, so yeah, you were just saying when these kids hype up their own fight, it only makes the pressure that much worse. And I just want to add to that. I come from the world of music, so in music performance, we know all about that. You know, if you're gonna brag about, oh, I'm playing this gig here, there, and then everyone's gonna be there. It's gonna be that much worse on stage. At the same time, I also am well aware that no matter what you do, that nervousness is gonna be present. There's nothing you can do to escape it. And I've heard you often talk about how you stress the idea of you need to find a way to be calm in the ring no matter what. And I think, again, we can bring that to the greater parts of life and other parts of life and go, yeah, you got to find a way to be calm in the face of nervous all the time, because a lot of people seem to think that you can't be calm and nervous at the same time. But really, in my opinion at least, that's what the most important time being calm comes in handy, is when you are nervous. Would you agree?
Yeah, well, it's an exciting feeling. It's not a nervous feeling that you go, oh, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this. I think that's a bad one. That's a bad one to have. But it's like, for instance, I did for the Hall of Fame for the UFC. I had to do they asked me to speak for at least 10 minutes, like 10, 12 minutes, which is a long time. And then you go, okay, there's a lot of people watching, you don't want to mess this up. And even though you're on live TV every week, these are things that go to your mind that you don't want to mess it up. So normally when I have also kids that I do, high school kids who go into college, I give them every year, I do a speech for them, because those teachers, they're fight fans, and they asked me one time, and then, now I'm doing it every year. But the first 2 minutes, it's always a little nerve-wracking, and people don't think it is. Public speaking, it simply is. So I told the people from the UFC, the guy who was arranging everything, I say, put a bottle of water under that podium just to make sure if I get a dry mouth or something. But I'm really, before I went up, I felt like I was going to a fight. So they say, oh, so you're nervous? I said, going to a fight. He says, oh, so you're nervous? I said, no, I never had that. I'm excited to go right now. As long as it's a good nervous and not a bad nervous. Like, I'm sure, what instrument do you play?
I play the drum kit.
The drum kit. Well, there's certain things that you cannot miss. Let's say you say, okay, there's this big bang that we do every time, and I cannot miss it because every time I do it, it's got to be on spot. And the more you start thinking about it, the more chance you're going to miss that thing. I guarantee you that.
Sure.
And more people, more pressure. It's always like that. When you overthink things, don't overthink things. Just go, let it flow, and then everything will be okay.
Definitely, and in music we call it, again, you can bring this to more things. We just call it being present, and like you said, just not overthinking things. And I like how you've kind of dissected nervousness, how there's not just one kind of nervous, there's multiple kinds. And it's interesting that you say if you have that nervousness where you're going, oh, I don't want to be doing this now, I don't want to be doing this right now, you probably shouldn't be doing it. But have you ever seen a fighter, let's say, be affected by that kind of nervousness, overcome it, and then love the fight after that?
It's a very rare thing. It's all about at what stage he is. Is he in the early stage of his career? Yeah, he can catch it. If it starts in the later part of his career, he'll probably never overcome it. I had a student who was really good at training, but then always, he got more and more pressure. And then he was fighting for other people first, for a different gym. And then finally he thought it was the gym, so he came to me. And now with me, well, he had to win because now we got Bas Rutten in the corner. That's the way he was talking. I said, whoa. Let's back up here. Just relax. But he thought that all the people now thought he automatically was going to win, and he just created more and more pressure for him. But then again, he was also the guy who told the whole world that he was going to fight, and that he told him in detail what he was going to do to his opponent. So that's just not a smart thing to do. Just be calm, relax, and just fight.
I agree. There's no need to bring this other pressure into whatever you're planning on doing, whether it be a performance or a fight. Like I was taught from a very good teacher, just mind your own business, do your own thing, be humble. No one else needs to know about it. If it's that good, they'll come and see you. That's what it comes down to.
That's it. You want to be that. Yeah. And humble doesn't mean be boring. Because a lot of people say, oh, yeah, no, I just want to win. And no, that doesn't mean that. You can be funny, you can be this, but you don't need to say that, oh, I'm going to just kill this guy. He has no chance. He has no, it's all pressure. Like you said, just stay calm, humble in a nice way, But don't forget the media. If you want to be a fighter and you want to turn some heads, just about the biggest example. I only have to say Conor McGregor, and then everybody knows right away what I'm talking about. He's got skill, and he combined it with being great on camera, and that's gold.
For sure. And would you say that his being great on camera is really just him being himself, or do you think it's an act?
I think it's totally him, because every time when you hear him talk, he's different. You know, he says a different thing. All these interviews that he was doing, I mean, constantly he comes up with all these new things. I truly don't believe that this is a guy who sits at home rehearsing. I truly believe it just comes flowing out. And you can tell, and he enjoys it, and he truly believes that he's the very best on the planet. And guys who truly believe that, they're very hard to beat.
100%. It's and it's cool how you say that. You can just tell because you know, there's that saying, real knows real recognizes real, and I like to think, you know, I'm not trying to brag or anything, and maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe I'll get a bunch of angry emails after this, but I like to think I'm an honest guy too. I can be myself around people, and I wasn't always this way, and I noticed when I started being more honest to myself and others, I began to immediately see when other people were being honest or when other people were being disingenuous. It's almost like the second instinct you develop, and it seems to me like the most successful media personalities, fighters, or anything like that are always the ones where you're watching them going, yeah, it's not an act. He's being himself here.
Yep. That's really it. Well, to quote the Bible, Matthew 7, if you start reading that, that is what people should do. They should first take a good look at themselves before they start judging other people. And you will find out that lots of your judging that you do towards other people comes from the fact that you're not happy in your own skin. You know, you are not doing it yourself. And because you're not doing it yourself, you try to overcompensate. That is the same as those guys who scream, all gay people have to die, gay people have to die. Well, 80% of those guys are probably in the closet gay, you know, because, and it's proven. Yeah. It's really proven, you know, if they go out there, people, you know, I don't say 80%, but a lot of them, because they try to overcome.
Right.
Just using an example, of course, now. But you still there?
Yeah, you know what? Your mic just totally changed. It sounds better now.
Oh, right.
I don't know what happened.
Perfect. Well, then I keep it like this. So, you know,
Yeah,
you can use that with everything. You know, the guy who says, oh, I'm a tough guy, I'm a real tough guy, I'm a real tough guy. Well, if it's 100% real, well, you know what? Conor McGregor doesn't say that. He says, you know, I just cannot be beaten. But you won't hear him say, oh, I'm a tough guy. I think, guys, the barking dogs, think about barking dogs. You know, they're afraid.
Right. And again, I want to emphasize that other people are going to see when you're afraid. Other people are going to see when you're disingenuous, and it's not helping you in any way to lie just in order to chase success or something like that. It's really not doing yourself any favors.
No, it doesn't. You know, and it's also, if you have to be a different persona, you know, I have so many people come to me and they go, oh man, you're exactly the same like you're on TV. I say, why would I change that? And I do have fighters or athletes or anybody else coming in for interviews, and it's like a switch they turn on. They become a total different person. And I just think it's very heavy on the mind to constantly, you know, turn it on here and turn it off here, turn it on here. I think just being yourself, I think that's the easiest way to go. And then hopefully people gravitate towards it, because otherwise, of course, it's not a good thing.
Yeah, and clearly in your case, Bas, people gravitate towards it because one of the things you've done so amazingly well, in my opinion, is you've somehow crafted the ability to become a celebrity in MMA, and that's pretty rare for an MMA fighter. I could go through a bunch of MMA heavyweight champions or former champions, and only a few of those people are going to be considered celebrities, in my opinion at least. And I'm wondering, Bas, was it just... Boss, I don't know what happened that time. What have you heard me say so far?
You created a celebrity.
Right, you've created...
that I did.
Yes. Is it just about you being true to yourself? Is that the key to that celebrity status? Is there something else you'd want to share?
No, that's it. And believe it or not, when you see me on TV, I'm actually toning it down, because I know I'm way more out of control. You should... In the beginning, my wife was always, and my friends here in America, they were laughing so hard, because I would have, like the first 3 or 4 years, people from Holland, my friends would come in, old friends, and they We sit at a table, and then these friends were mesmerized how calm I was now. And then you saw all these American friends, they go like, whoa, 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 that is calm? He said, oh, he was way worse. I always been a very high energy guy, and sometimes for TV that is just too much. You have to tone it down a little bit. But what you see is most of the time a toned down version of me.
Interesting. So for fighters who are, let's say they're very successful in terms of their winning, and let's even bring this beyond fighters once again, because this podcast is listened to by a bunch of different kind of people, but a lot of them are people who are interested in gaining that celebrity status. Again, would your one and only tip to them be yourself? That's it. Period. The end. Sometimes make exceptions.
Well, it's how do I explain this? If you be yourself, but you're a boring guy, it's not going to happen. But you know what? If you didn't know how to fight when you started fighting, you didn't know how to do submissions, not how to strike. You taught yourself that. It became a habit, and then you start doing it. It's just doing habits.
Right.
Most of the time when you focus only on training, you forget another side of yourself. And like for instance, I have a lot of fighters who come to me and who could be a little bit boring in the beginning, but after a month spending time with me, they become a different person because they start realizing, wait a minute, it's a way more fun way to live. And once they start living like that, then they truly become that. It becomes a habit, and suddenly they are that guy. Listen, we changed guys. Peter Arts and I, we went to Denmark one time with the most boring guy ever, everybody said. In 5 days, this guy was running on the street screaming. We totally trained this guy, retrained his brain, so to say, not even trying, because we're just being ourselves and being the crazy people that we are. But apparently he was gravitated towards it, and he realized, hey, wait a minute. Once he started doing, he felt better, and then it's not fake. Once you start becoming it. Some people just have to learn that, and it depends again on what age it is, because changing people after an age of, like say 25 is going to be a hard thing to do, really changing. But being happy and see other people happy and doing it the way they do, and well, they start imitating. It's what kids do in the beginning also, right, in their life. They just imitate what they see from their parents, and if it makes them happy, well, they're going to keep it.
Exactly. And one thing I've definitely noticed amongst people who consider themselves boring, there's two types. There's the one who, they're perfectly fine with that. They have no issue. They don't want to become famous. They don't want to be a celebrity. They're happy who they are, and that's great for them. And then there's the other kind of person who considers themselves boring, and they look at it from a very depressing point of view. And what I've noticed is that with those people, the reason they consider themselves boring is because A, they are boring, and B, they're boring because they still don't know themselves. They're still, just like this guy you're talking about in Denmark, chances are he had no idea how much fun it could be to do whatever the hell you guys were doing. Chances are, if you're one of those people who find yourself boring and hate it, you just haven't figured out enough about yourself that you find fun, and that's the opposite of boring.
Yeah, that's really it. A lot of people don't know. They haven't been brought up like that. They never have people. A lot of things that also got me in. I had an old. Hear me?
Yeah, now I hear you. So all I heard was you had an old.
Oh, a taekwondo teacher, an old.
Right.
That was around 21, and he was also crazy. And you take things automatically from him as well. Then again, I was the kid that when my mom told me this story. She went to school one time, and there were different mothers, and one of the mothers was looking inside the classroom, and she saw me, and she looked at my mother, and she goes, "Oh, okay, could you believe if that would be your kid? How crazy is that kid?" And then my mother said, "Well, it's my son," So I was always just really, really, really hyper. I think I had ADHD before it was even ADHD.
Right.
Before
Yeah. It's You're cutting out again, but if I could I think you can still hear me, so I just want to interject real quick. It's funny how many of these people we look up to these days would have probably been diagnosed with ADHD if they had done that kind of testing, 20, 30 years ago. And now I got diagnosed with ADHD, and I just didn't do anything about it, and I don't regret it. So it's a weird disease, but that's a whole other different topic. Just making sure. Can we hear you again, boss? Can you say something?
Yeah. Okay, I'm right here. I can hear you perfectly.
All right, perfect. I hear you again too. So boss, one of the things that this podcast is obsessed with, and that means I'm really obsessed with it, is depression and failure. And it's interesting to say that you've always considered yourself a very hyper and excited person. I've also heard stories that you were very bullied as a young kid. So was that hyperness something that was, what's the word I'm looking for? Something that was hidden by the bullying, or was it even while you were being bullied, was that hyperness still always there in you?
Better.
Yeah, that sounds good to me now. So yeah, the last thing I had asked you was whether or not that hyperness, even though it might have been in you, did the bullying take away from that at all?
No, the bullying never took away the hyperness. I think my whole persona got created there. I think being the class clown and being a crazy kid, I think it all got created because I was bullied. Nobody liked me. So I tried to find ways for people to like me. And that if I would make fun of teachers or, like being crazy,
Right.
well, that got me attention. And I think that's what kids do. And, once you get older in life, like the last 5 years especially, you start thinking about all these things and the fighting comes from the bullying. We got that. But where does my persona come from? And I truly believe that I created that when I was a kid. But I was always a happy kid. I was always sick, but I never thought, oh, poor me, poor me. I always thought about other people having the same, but way worse. I had asthma attacks for like 7 days, but I knew there were people who had it 365 days a year. So I had eczema on my hands and my face and spots here and there in my face and in my neck. I know people who have it everywhere. So there's
Right.
always people who have it worse than you. I always said this. If you think you're having it bad, trust me, there's always somebody out there that has it way worse than you. And once you keep just being positive, everything will take care of it.
I love that, man. It's such an issue that I see today is people who feel sorry for themselves when they really have no excuse to be feeling for like that. And I'm guilty again, once again myself. I used to always feel sorry for myself about this, and that. And then it's just like you said, one day I just realized, someone who really inspires me. Have you heard of the MMA fighter Kyle Maynard?
Kyle Maynard, no.
Kyle Maynard has no limbs, and he's fought professionally in MMA. And the guy finds no reason to be upset with anything. And it's just when you look at people like that who were literally born with less than what I or you have, and they can still be happy, they can still keep pushing. It makes me think people who are struggling to lose weight and are just constantly depressed, or they want to put on muscle and they feel like they can't do it, blah 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 blah. Really, it's just like you said, you gotta look beyond yourself and see how good you really do have it right now.
Yeah, it's hard, but like depression, I've never been depressed in my life once. I've been it for about, I think, 2, 3 months, and it was the scariest time of my life. I don't know
Wow.
where it came from. I don't know what happened, but I do know that suddenly it was gone again because I started thinking positive, positive, positive. But there's a lot of people out there who stay in that, and it's. I'm not saying for somebody who has a depression that it's easy to get out of it. Just think positive. Absolutely, 100% not, because I did that. Of course, I tried to, but when I felt that. Then when I see the commercials on TV, when these people they're depressed, and maybe you should use Cymbalta or whatever the
Mm.
brand is, But then you really feel. I go, oh, okay, that is that was really nasty. I mean, suicidal thoughts, like the weirdest things that I've never even came close to of thinking. It was really weird. I'm so happy that suddenly just disappeared.
Yeah, and I want to say if you are a listener who does have those kind of thoughts, it's not like you're doing something wrong because, like Boss says, he's very happy and lucky that he's never experienced those things. But a recurring theme on this podcast, Boss, and what we try to do here is bring together people that I've considered successful in life. Is that a lot of them have either been bullied like yourself or gone through severe depression or failure. So I like to tell people you can actually harness that depression and make a lot from it.
You can use it as fuel. What you can do is this. What I always say is very simple. Like I have these people. I somebody I know very well always had a drug problem his entire life. and but never been clean more than 2 months. So, and he's now at an much older age now, and he never did that. And now it's working for him. But I go like, listen, well, actually, it's still in the process now. But what I'm saying is, you never tried something else. You never tried half a year or a year clean. Why don't you try that? Why is it after, because if something happens to them, anything, it can be really good or really bad, they will grab anything as an excuse to start using again. Oh, I feel so depressed. Oh my God, I broke my arm. I got to use again. And that's your mind telling you, the bad part of your mind telling you to do it, if you just have to fight it. And that's like anything else in life. You just have the moment that you say, okay, we tried this. You're depressed for how many years? Did you ever try to do something about it besides medication? No, I'm just, go to the doctor and he gets me this, Well, now it's time to change. Let's see if he can create a different habit. Start working out. Oh, I don't feel like it. Yeah, well, I don't feel like rehabbing my arm as well. I hate it, but I have to do it. There's certain things that you just have to start doing. What you did now, let's say you're 30 years depressed and nothing helped, or you never trained, or you never did something else, well, now it's time for you to do something else. Even when you don't like it, learn it. Oh, you can't read? Learn how to read. Because I'd like to read books or whatever. Start reading books. Just switch the habit, because what you did for 30 years didn't work. Chances are it will never work. You have to switch. You have to do something else. And whatever it is, you have to start looking for it and break the bad habit and turn it into a good habit. Just like something. It's so hard to explain, because for us it's so hard to say, or so easy to say, oh yeah, it's easy, just do something else. But, trust me, I had the same thing. I had same things also. I had my things that I really had to change, and they were very, very hard for me to change. I just don't want to talk about it. But, there's been some really bad things that you have to do it. And once you start doing it, you realize, wait a minute, this is good. Most of the time, working out for a person that's depressed is very hard to do. And I'm telling you, working out is almost the best thing that you can do for your body. Eating correctly, eating healthy, and working out. Working out, I put almost even at the number one spot. I think it will change everything. It will change everything in your mind, in your body, everything. But you have to do it and start doing it.
Right, and I couldn't agree more. And a lot of the times, I know when I was very depressed, is that I would hear these things, and in the back of the head, they're true, but you're rolling your eyes like, oh, it's so simple. It's, how could it be true? It's all a cliche, blah, 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 blah. And what I've really come to learn as time's gone on is that there is a big difference between something being simple and something being easy. Just because the idea is simple to understand, oh, working out's going to make me feel good, I'm going to feel strong, I'm going to be healthy. Yeah, that's simple to understand. You know what it's not? It's not easy to actually do. So just because something seems simple, don't expect it to be easy going into it. There's a saying, anything worth doing in life is hard work, right? So that's what I would have to say about that kind of stuff.
What would be the joy of it if you could do it? What would be the joy if you're a guy who walks into a gym, beats everybody up, becomes a world champion, doesn't really have to train? Is that world title really going to hold any value for you? No, because you don't have to do anything for it. Once you have to start sacrificing things, you have to suffer things. You cannot do this, you cannot do that, you cannot eat this, you cannot, once you do that, and you have to train every time, 2 times a day, then when you become a champion, or don't even become a champion, just a good known fighter, top 10, top 20, that's already really cool. Then you say, okay, now you can really enjoy what you've done because you worked for it. And that's like everything else in life. With the being depressed as well, start training. And like I said, I have to rehab my arm. If I don't train, I feel bad. And it doesn't matter. I can jump in my pool, do all my crazy workout exercise for only 20 minutes. If I do that, I already feel better. I'll probably do it longer, but if I just do 20 minutes. And people also don't set the goal too high. You want to train? Oh, I want to run a marathon. Really? That's your goal right now? And then they overdo it in the first weeks. Spread it out over a year. Start walking a mile, just walking. It depends on how you are in shape. Gradually build yourself up to things. Don't go too high because it always goes wrong. 90% of the time, you're going to get injured, you're overtraining, you're doing something, and then you really don't want to do it anymore. Build to it.
Definitely. And boss, so what's going to happen is now a bunch of listeners, they're going to make a change in their life and they're going to start working out. And I guarantee you what's going to happen amongst 90% of them is they're going to have a week where something goes wrong, work comes up, blah, 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 and they're going to miss every single workout that week. What's your advice to once they've screwed up their routine, once you know they made a mistake, they feel guilty, where do they go to from there?
Well, you got to be honest. Before you start, you got to make a schedule. Like there's something I do in the morning. Like I get up 2 hours before I really want to get up because I want to have this part of my day, and this is what I'm always going to do.
Right.
And if for some reason I'm traveling and I have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, well, then going up at 2, that's not going to happen. But that I told myself, if that happens, well, I wrap up my day with the same routine. I come home and then I do exactly the same thing. Whatever happens, I will not break the routine. Once you break the routine once, then it's like almost like an addict with things, you know. It's like the alcoholic who says, okay, I drink 1 glass of wine now. I'm already 1 year clean. I can do 1 glass of wine. And it goes perfect. He drinks 1 glass of wine. And then 2-3 weeks later from then, he goes like, wait a minute, I could drink 1 glass 3 weeks ago. I can do it again now, you know. And that becomes 3 weeks becomes the next week. And then the next week, well, if I can do 1, I'm pretty sure I can do 2. And once it starts, it's done. And that's with everything. You just, you know, tell yourself this is what I'm going to do. Listen, I'm very easy with this. I cannot literally look at myself in the mirror. If I tell myself to do something and I don't do it, I'm disgusted with myself. And thankfully, it's a stupid thing to have, but it's a great thing to have as well because I have to do it. And my word is my bond. Whatever I say, I'm going to do. And if I can't do it, which is a very rare occasion, I will even make an appointment. I will be the first guy to call you, man. It's, you know, I will always try to do what I say I'm going to do.
That's beautiful, man. And I definitely agree that once you screw up that routine once, it's a very slippery slope. At the same time, I would say you can get over that slope. It's not game over. It's going to hurt you, no doubt about it. You got to be honest with yourself. I fucked up. You know, I screwed up. Sorry to swear there. I don't know. I don't know how you feel about swearing, boss, because you're usually on national television. Yeah, like I'm saying, you're gonna screw up. You're gonna make mistakes. But you're gonna hit a slippery slope. But don't give up there. I think you can jump right back on that horse, and you know maybe you're not starting from scratch. Maybe you're starting 20 points behind where you were before. But start again. Go for it again. Don't worry if you made a mistake once. You can fix it.
No, that's 100% guarantee. You know, you just got to jump back on the wagon, so to say. And I don't mean that with alcohol and drugs. I mean that with everything. You know, it's just doing it again. Oh, I didn't do it today. I'll make sure I'm going to do it tomorrow. Actually, to pay up for today, me not doing it, maybe I should go tomorrow like 15 minutes longer or whatever it is.
Right.
You know, but there's got to be. You know, in the military there is a penalty for that, right? I mean, you don't put your 100% in, you know, you're going to have to do 10 more rounds or whatever it is. They have something for 50 more push-ups, 100 more push-ups. You know, give yourself a penalty that you're going to have to do. And then hopefully you're going to do it the next day, because if you break that the next day, yeah, then it goes down. Then you maybe don't really want to have it. You know, it's you got to make goals. Write down the goals. I always say at the end goal is I want to feel good again. And okay, I never tried this. Let's go and try this. But I'm going to commit to this. Whatever happens, how depressed I am, how bad I feel, whatever happens, I feel sick, you can still go and do something. Even if it's just walking, but just move. Let the blood flow through the body. And it's going to make a big difference in everything in life.
And I can personally attest to that. I was someone who, when I graduated high school years ago, if there had been a contest, I'm from Toronto, Canada, so let's say there was a contest in Toronto, top 20 weakest people in Toronto, I was placing in the top 10 at least. That's how bad it was. And gradually, and I managed to make changes to my life, and it was amazing how just walking at one point, just starting to walk every day, I immediately felt the benefits of just the blood flow, like you said. You still there, boss?
That's it. Yep, still there.
All right, cool. Yeah, and you brought up a really good tool that for listeners who have been listening for a while now, they're going to hear this thing come up day and day with every single successful person I bring on, is that Boss wakes up 2 hours before he starts everything. He makes a routine. That's not something just Boss does. This is a very common thing. People need to schedule their days. You need to be organized. And I was wondering, Boss, would you be willing to go in a bit of detail of what that morning ritual looks like?
Well, it's just taking a moment for myself. I take a cup of coffee, I go and sit outside. I'm sitting in the backyard, and I'm relaxing. And I'm just taking, it's the whole meditation process I do, the few prayers that I throw out there. After that, and that goes on for 40 minutes. Then I start stretching. Once I stretch, I if I have things to rehearse, lines to rehearse, whatever it is, that's the moment when I stretch. I start doing that. I don't want to do stretching and meditating or prayers all at the same time, because
Right.
I don't think it's a good thing. I think you really have to focus on one thing. Don't try to cut time in half. If you say, oh, I'm going to need more time, but I can't do it, well, get up earlier. That's what I did. Because it used to be an hour and 15 minutes. And then I realized, that's really making it short. Okay, let's do an hour and a half. And then I go, you know what, I'm just going to go 2 hours. 30 minutes a night is not going to make a difference anymore. And also a thing is what you do, what you don't do in the morning. Make sure the first 2 or 3 hours of your day are without your phone and without going on the internet. Don't do anything. And if you get up at 7, well, you can at 9 or 10 o'clock. If it's for your job, I understand you have to do it. But for me, most of the time, it's like 9:30. That's where I'm probably check my first email. And then I've been up already for at least 2 hours,
Right.
2.5 hours.
And you've got a shit ton done, right? By then, you've already got a lot of stuff done.
Everything that I wanted to do in my mind and clear up, it's done. Everything is done. And then once that is clear, then going through your emails, and trust me, I got 50 emails, waiting or whatever.
Right.
But you fly through it because, your mind is clear. You can start the day the correct way. If you wake up too late and right away with stress, you didn't even drink coffee, you jump on your computer, you're wasting your day. And another thing is, like if you have your phone, start also creating a habit. And just tell your friends over the course of time, because they say, oh, but they don't know. They want me to text right away back. No, what if your phone is broke? They don't know. You don't have to text right away back.
Oh, it's
Put
so
the
true.
phone down for an hour, just 1 hour a day. And that time, just spend on yourself. It will do wonders for you. I mean, I'm telling you, that's the only thing that I don't like about these phones and the internet and the social media. My daughters, I see my daughters, they got to have the phone at the diner table. No, get the phone away. It's not allowed. Let's eat. It takes about 20 minutes to eat.
Right.
You can't go 20 minutes without a phone. Just throw the phone away for an hour a day, and you will get so much free space in your mind. It's so much better to do.
I agree. I can't tell you how much I agree. And there's, like I said, there's going to be some amateur fighters listening to this. There's going to be some guys about to go pro. There's going to be some musicians. There's going to be a bunch of people who are working really hard in their life right now. And I can tell you right now, one of the biggest mistakes you're doing right now, and if you're doing this, is if you have your phone next to you while you're doing any of this crap, and you're constantly checking your text messages, your phone messages, you are losing so much potential every time you do that. You have no idea how much it cuts into your focus, and there's been a gazillion studies on this. So again, if you're training for a fight and then you're going to the bench and you're looking at your cell phone in between, stop it right now. You're hurting yourself.
You're not choose a different profession. You don't really commit to it. It's a very simple thing. The only reason I would have a phone on in the beginning when I train with other guys in the morning when I would train is just to check if somebody's not going to show up. For the rest, I do not go on your emails, do not go on anything before your first workout. Because if it's a stress email, and they're always stress emails,
right,
that email you're going to take to the gym and you're going to train with, you're going to get hurt because somebody's going to hit you the wrong way because you're not thinking clearly. Just don't do it. It's a very simple. That's why you need.
Sorry, Bas, we lost you. We heard that.
So, oh yeah, why would you pay 10% to a manager? If you can keep it yourself. Oh, I say, of course, it's a smart idea for a fight. It's the dumbest thing you can do, not have a manager. The dumbest thing on the planet.
Sorry, Bas, I don't know what happened there again.
Yeah, that's crazy because I'm right in my Wi-Fi here. So, but what I was saying is, yeah, it's the dumbest thing to not have a manager, especially if you become a little more known. because they do so much work for you. Trust me, you don't want to go through emails about projects or other people asking you things the whole time. Let the manager filter everything out. Let him negotiate with the company you work for so he can be or she can be the bad guy. He or she doesn't matter. Never do it yourself. It's the dumbest thing to do. Yes, it costs you 10%, but in the long run, you're going to be very happy. And another thing, once you have a manager, if you normally go, let's say you ask $20,000 to fight, I guarantee you that manager is probably going to get $30,000 because you're always lowering yourself. That's always the thing that you do. Or you got to be, of course, the husband or the wife from a fighter, because that happens also. I see guys who have their better half doing management, and I don't know if that's a good thing either to do. I think you should keep it separated. Very important.
Right, I agree. A work and relationship, in my experience, they don't always see eye to eye. But what Bas is touching on here that I really want to highlight because it's so important is the more you're going to start learning about yourself, the more you're going to realize how much you suck at certain things. So for me, for example, Bas, it's kind of like you said, like if I'm reading some emails and there's so much little detail and numbers that I got to keep track of, I'm terrible at that. So I know now I'm not going to waste my time going through it because, yeah, I can do it. And, like you said, maybe I'll save 10% of my cash or something like that. But it's just not worth it for the stress and how long it takes me when I could be doing stuff I'm actually good at. So what I'm trying to say here is as you start figuring out what you're shitty at, stop doing those things and start looking for help. Either from friends or from hired help, just like you said, find a manager if that's not what you want to do. If you want to fight for a living, you probably don't want to be the one booking all your matches too.
No, you don't. And then negotiate the price, and then the sponsors come in, and then, or what if a movie deal comes in, and you have to negotiate the price for that, and it goes back and forth. Trust me. It's not like, I want 20,000. Oh, we go for you 15. Okay, 15. It's not like that. It's going to go from 20 till 19,500. It's going to be a battle. Constantly back and forth, and people calling you, and you have to train. You have to totally focus. And on top of that, even if you do it in between your workouts, it is stress. The one thing you can't use is stress. If you're in a bad relationship, and a bad relationship has been there for 2 years, trust me, it will not change. Stop the relationship. If you're really serious about becoming a good fighter, that is where fighters are made or broke in relationships. Because coming home to a relationship that is a bad relationship, that is not a good thing for a fighter. And I see it, and I know it, and I know the fighters who had bad relationships and who have bad relationships, and I'll see it in their performance.
Right, and again, this is one of those things that sounds so simple. Oh, I have a bad relationship, I'm going to end it. That sounds so easy. It's not going to be easy, guys. So don't make that mistake of just because he's saying, these things that sound simple to comprehend. Again, it's not going to be easy to end a relationship, obviously, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it either. Bas, what I want to segue to right here, are you okay on time still? Because there is another...
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about how successful you've been as an entrepreneur. You're a rare example of a fighter, and let's be honest here, a lot of ignorant people, they see a fighter and they say, oh, this guy's... Okay, so maybe they're right when they say they're a kook, but they're wrong when they say that they're stupid, right? People think, oh, this guy gets punched in the head for a living. He must be stupid. He's dumb. Blah 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 blah. Bas Rutten is a prime example of how stupid that opinion is. And for those who don't know, yes, Bas was a former UFC heavyweight champion amongst other championship titles, but he's also been a major part of certain fight leagues like the IFL. He's got his own gym. I believe you have multiple gyms, right, Bas?
I have one now.
You have one now, but you have a fight system as well that you use as an affiliate to other gyms, right?
I did it in the past, but it's very hard. And apparently, there's a lot of people who do not really want to be a teacher. They want to have the certificate, but they don't really want to be a teacher. So I stopped at that.
Right.
Because it made no sense.
Right. So still, the point I'm trying to make here is that, Bas, you've managed to overcome the stereotype of these fighters being stupid people who can't think for themselves, and you've created successful entrepreneurial endeavors. And I'm wondering, where did this confidence come from? Where did you start thinking, you know what, I can make a punching pad system that's way more effective than a punching bag, and I can market it and make a lot of money and sell it, and it's going to do really well. Where did you get that confidence from, coming from as a fighter?
Well, there was not a confidence at first, but there you go again. You just come up with an
Ah,
idea and you really truly believe in the idea, and then and you start doing it. Like everything I sell or have sold in the past, I want to be 100% behind it. The amount of money I lost for not saying yes to a product that they wanted me to endorse, but because I thought it sucked, I didn't do it. It's that's a lot of money. But I just
wow.
said if I would make one time a mistake with a product that that people are going to find out it sucks, they're never going to believe me anymore. All the next products that I'm going to do is not going to work anymore. Like the O2 trainer I made, I really came up with that when I was 14 years old because of my asthma. And now it cured me from my asthma. It cured my friends from asthma. It cured a lot of fans on the websites who write me reviews secure from the asthma. People have they have stronger lungs. They have better stamina. Well, it just came from when I was 14 years old. I had the idea when I was 14 years old. Now because finally I had some money that I could use to invest and to start doing things, now I just start making it. And it's the same with the punching device. It's like making songs for fun, doing everything, doing an instructional DVD, people, bringing it out. Everything you have to start with it. If you never do it, you never know if it's going to happen. It's just doing it. But before that, you have to find out if it's actually good. And don't
Right.
ask friends because they always say it's good. Be the biggest critics. Like my wife is a really good one. I ask her, and she'll tell me flat out. She said, I don't think so. I think you should ask so and so and this person, and then if it's not, well, most of the time when she says it's not, it is not. You find out. Sometimes you think an idea is really, really good, but it really sucks. Like if you go into my notes in my phone,
Right.
on my voice notes, how many times and how many notes I wrote, and I had voice notes also with ideas, and 70%, if I re-listen, you go like, wow, that was a really bad idea, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just finding it out. And for people who say, oh, a fighter is dumb, that is ignorant. That means they're really not the smartest people, because if they would look into it, they would never say a boxer in the Olympic is stupid, because now it's in the Olympics.
Right.
And if you look at Big John McCarthy, he said it best. It's 4 Olympic sports all the way blend together. The kicking from Taekwondo, you got the boxing from boxing, the wrestling from wrestling, and you got the submissions from judo.
So
Put them
true.
all 4 Olympic sports together, and that's mixed martial arts. And you tell me you don't need to be smart for that? Come on. You're an idiot if you say you don't need to be smart for that. And some guys, yeah, they can fight pure on instinct, but most of the time, these guys don't go far. All the good guys, they're probably all smart guys. Very smart.
I agree completely. And, it's really sad to me that not only are there a lot of ignorant people who say these things, but sometimes we can even go beyond fighters. There are athletes, I think it's a statistic where it's about 50% of NFL players, after they retire, they go broke. And I often wonder how much of these financial issues, this depression that comes after athletics are done, are because an athlete sees him or herself as only an athlete. Whereas someone like you, Bas, clearly you're an amazing fighter, you're an amazing martial artist, but you've got a gazillion other things going on that you don't just label yourself to one thing. You're able to spread out and pursue a bunch of other things as well.
Yeah, but that's what you need to do. The short money, that is always the dumbest thing to do. It's again, think about you're breaking your leg. It's like the wrestler who says in MMA, "Oh, they will never take me down," until he suddenly got clipped in the head. Boom, he lost his balance. Now he's on his back. Guess what? You never trained like that. Or what if you're on the street? Oh, I'll keep it on the feet. Well, you can trip. You can trip over the curb. That might happen. Maybe you don't see it and you trip. Now you're on your back. You better learn what if it happens. And that's what I'm always saying with everything in life. In Holland, you have this great saying, don't throw away your old shoes before you have new shoes.
Huh.
You want to make sure that you have a backup plan as well. If I'm going to lose this, okay, don't worry. I can still do that. And unfortunately, a lot of guys, when you're a great athlete, they come out of school too early, and they don't do if they don't have a backup plan in school, and just going to college, that doesn't really mean anything. That will be great It will be great help you if you want to pursue something else, but
Right.
like be already a mechanic or be already something that you can right away. If it doesn't work, you can right away jump into that job. Because once you get older and older, and then it happens, yeah, then it's going to be a problem. Also with money, when money comes in, I would say you double the money that you live on right now, and live from that. If you always had an okay time, well, double that money. That should be okay. The rest, put it away. And it's a very, very hard thing to do because once your big first paycheck comes in, you want to have the car that you always wanted. Oh, and now
Right.
I want this, and now I want that, and now I want that. And before you know it, all the money is gone. And taxes, dude. Put your taxes to the side. I'm telling you, and overdo it. So it can only be easier. When they say when you
Right.
put 40 grand away, they're going to say, oh, it's only 30. Oh, so you should still have 10. Don't do it the other way around. You know?
Definitely. And I don't want the viewers or the listeners to think that we're saying, have a backup plan because you sucked at your first one and now you got to settle on something else. What we're saying here, at least, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Bas, but what I believe we're trying to say here is that your backup plan is probably something else you really love in life. You can love more than one thing.
Yeah, no, it is. But make sure that what if something happens? What if an airplane falls out of the sky and a piece of the engine chops your hand off and your career is over? What then what? And they say, yeah, that will never happen. No, but a million other things can happen to you. It's like having a family and you don't have life insurance. It's the same dumbest thing to do. Once you
Right.
have a family, you better make sure you have a life insurance because what if? Or the plane won't go. My wife and I will never fly together. Why? Because we live in America and we have absolutely zero family here in America. We're the only people from our families. So if the plane would go down with my wife and I together in it, that would be a problem for the kids. Of course, we
Right.
took care of what is going to happen to them, but why simply not take the risk? And they say, yeah, but there's a chance, one in a million. Yeah, so there is a chance. That's what I'm saying. Let's just take two flights. I take an hour sooner or later, whatever it is, and then but we will never have that problem. I guarantee you, if a plane goes down, it's already not a fun thing. But if I go down by myself, I'm going to go, okay, my kid's going to be okay. There's life insurance. You got my wife. But if we're with the two of us in the plane, that's not going to be a fun way to go down. And it's never
Right.
going to be a fun way to go down. But that will really, I guarantee you, that's the last thing that goes through my mind. My kids, they don't have anybody. And no, thank you. I don't want to do it. Backup plans, always,
Right.
everything.
Yeah, and I love how your backup plan, it's stemming from a place where you're thinking beyond being selfish. You're thinking about other people even when you were saying when you were younger and you're going to fight, you knew that you wanted to have a family and you needed a financial backup just in case fighting didn't work out. So I like how you're approaching these kind of things without being selfish. You're thinking about a greater good, really.
Well, that once you don't do that, I think then you're lost. I mean, thinking about yourself is like the worst thing to do. And well, that's a little thing. Always, if you're a fighter, yeah, you got to be. Once you're fighting and training, you got to put yourself in the number one spot. I truly believe that you have to be. No, yeah, well, God is number one, but then it's going to be you, and and you got to be selfish with that because you need no distractions. Everything needs to be you, because it's just you fighting. But because you're doing that, you're automatically taking care of the family and much better. Now, if you say, "Oh, I fight to put bread on the table for my family," okay, now once the family everything starts playing in the head as well, maybe that can influence you as well in training. That's the only thing I always said. Outside training, everything goes to the family and other people. I mean, not helping other people. Not, well, yeah, I can go on hours like this, man. Just open the door. If you go through a door and somebody's behind you, hold the door open for that person. If you're in the elevator and somebody comes run, don't let the elevator door close. Open the elevator. These things, what sounds really easy, a lot of people do not do. And it's really annoying to me that people are just not better people. They just treat other people the wrong way. If you do it to them, oh, they're gonna be happy. But for some reason, they are allowed to do it to you, and because what do they care? So yeah, I always think it's good to do something for other people. It gives you a good feeling.
I love that, man. And unfortunately, we're running out of time here. So I'm wondering, boss, if you had to share, let's say, 3 pieces of advice to an amateur fighter looking to go pro, what would your 3 top pieces of advice be? Hard
First one, read
question.
the book The Alchemist. Go
Great
read it
book.
from Paulo Coelho. Yeah, Coelho. Read that book. That will help you. I tell my students also. So you're not the first person. I'm telling you. I'm talking to the students right now.
Right.
Then the second line I use, and I said that at the Hall of Fame induction. I say, how do you want to be remembered? I believe Henry Ford said that line. How do you want to be remembered? You want to be remembered as the guy who was cheating, got caught with PEDs. You want to be the guy with a lot of talent, but never really trained, so he never got really big. You want to be that guy who, when he got in trouble on the ground, he would quit. Or when he got hurt a little bit, he would quit. Or you want to be remembered as the guy who was just an animal. He never became a champion, that when they talk about you. But, dude, that guy, every fight he did, he came. And it was a nightmare to fight this guy. He was always getting better. You want to be that guy? Even when you don't become a champion. There's so many guys, fighters out there that everybody loves so much because they always bring it. And that's it. And that line, how do you want to be remembered, you can apply to everything else in life.
Exactly.
Whatever you do, you're a musician playing drums, how do you want to be remembered? As the guy who, he came by, it worked out, but, he could have been so much better, man, if he really would have put his mind to it. It's with everything in life. So those few things I say, and for the rest I would say, write everything down. I had a log. I would write down the amount of repetitions I did with what weight, and I would every week try to break it. I would do more repetitions, and then once the repetitions got too many, I did also always 25 repetitions. And once it became to 30, I did more weight and went back to 25. And then just always add it. That's about it. Don't overtrain. I started out with 2-minute rounds on the Thai pads. 2-minute rounds, full blast. And I would do that 3 times a week, and that would be 10 weeks out. And every week I would only add 30 seconds of work time until I had 6 rounds of 7 minutes. 7 rounds of 6 minutes. But every time gradually increase the work time. Don't overtrain. That's a big one too. If I would do 7 rounds of 6 minutes the first 2 weeks, I would be burned out. I could not train anymore. So slowly, gradually build up, get stronger and stronger. That's about it.
Right, man. And I love everything you're saying because, we can take it outside the realm of fighting just like you just did. And you can don't overtrain, don't overwork either, guys. Build it up slowly, learn what your capabilities are, break those capabilities, get better. Boss, I want to tell you just how much of an honor it was to do this with you. I'm a big fan. I love watching you on TV. I love watching your old fights. I just rewatched yesterday you versus Ken Shamrock when he lost by cut. Whew. What a fight, man. I did not know that he was going to be making those faces at you when he was on the ground there, and you're wailing on him. Oh.
Yeah, Frank and I had some fun matches.
Yeah, honestly, man, it's such a pleasure to be doing this with you, so thank you again. And I'm wondering, Bas, if people want to find out more about you, where can they look?
Just Bas Rutten MMA on Twitter. On Facebook, it's facebook.com Bas Rutten. And, check out the Auto Trainer if you're serious about, if you have asthma. I cannot medically claim this, but it happened to me and it happened to everybody. I was always carrying an inhaler with me. Not anymore for 2 years. I can literally jump in the ocean, go full blast swimming. I will not need an inhaler to spray my lungs open after a minute because a lot of asthma patients will have that problem. Same what I had my entire life for 48 years. So, check it out. And the body action system, you talked about the punch and kicking device. I'm actually going to do it today because it's in my backyard. And yesterday I had the power training for my shoulder, and now I'm going to do it. BodyActionSystem.com. It's a really fun product as well, and really great. It has no impact on the joints, so you save your body a little bit better and longer.
Awesome. Thank you again, boss. You have a great day, man.
You're welcome, Jared. Thank you very much.
No problem. Take it easy. Bye.
Bye.
That's it for today's episode. If you guys like what you heard, follow us on Twitter at _theKspot.net, search for The Knowledge Spot on Facebook or SoundCloud, or check us out at www.thekspot.net. Lastly, if you guys have any questions for me, I plan on doing my own personal Q&A sessions through YouTube, so email me at contact@thekspot.net.